Chapter 1: The Crusaders' Failed Quest for Jerusalem. An Introduction. The Holy Land, with its sacred sites and religious significance, has always been a focal point for different civilizations and faiths throughout history. In the 11th century, a fervent movement known as the Crusades emerged in Europe, driven by a desire to recapture the holy city of Jerusalem from Muslim control. This subchapter will delve into the reasons behind the Crusaders' ultimate failure in their quest to regain Jerusalem, exploring various factors that contributed to their downfall. One of the key reasons for the Crusaders' failure was the role of leadership. Despite their initial military successes, the lack of strong and unified leadership hindered their progress. Internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces weakened their overall effectiveness, allowing their opponents to exploit these weaknesses. Geography and terrain played a significant role in the Crusaders' inability to recapture Jerusalem. The Holy Land's arid and unfamiliar landscape posed numerous challenges for the European invaders, who were unaccustomed to such harsh conditions. The local population, on the other hand, possessed intimate knowledge of the land, allowing them to utilize guerrilla tactics and defensive strategies to their advantage. Religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population in Jerusalem also played a pivotal role in their failure. The Crusaders viewed the inhabitants as enemies, failing to understand and respect their customs and traditions. This lack of understanding and the resulting hostility further fueled the resistance against the Crusaders. Logistical challenges and supply lines presented another significant hurdle for the Crusaders. Maintaining a sustained campaign in a faraway land proved to be a daunting task, as the logistics of supplying a large army were incredibly complex. This logistical strain severely impacted their ability to sustain their efforts. Furthermore, the Crusaders underestimated the resilience and determination of the local population to defend their city. The people of Jerusalem were united in their determination to protect their homeland, proving to be formidable opponents. The Crusaders' underestimation of their adversaries ultimately led to their downfall. Throughout this book, we will explore each of these factors in detail, analyzing the significance of military tactics, diplomacy, alliances, disease, and external political factors, such as the rise of powerful Muslim states. By examining the Crusaders' failed quest for Jerusalem from various angles, we aim to shed light on the complex dynamics that ultimately led to their defeat. Lost in the Holy Land, the Crusaders' failed quest for Jerusalem provides a comprehensive exploration of the Crusades, uncovering the reasons behind their inability to recapture Jerusalem. Whether you are interested in military history, religious conflicts, or the impact of leadership and logistics on historical events, this book will provide valuable insights into this pivotal period in history. Join us as we embark on a journey to unravel the mysteries and lessons of the Crusaders' failed quest for Jerusalem. Chapter 2: Why the Crusaders Failed to Recapture Jerusalem. The overconfidence of the Crusaders. In their fervent quest to recapture Jerusalem, the Crusaders were driven by a sense of unwavering confidence, a belief that victory was within their grasp. However, this overconfidence would prove to be their downfall. Despite their unquestionable military prowess, the Crusaders failed to recognize the numerous challenges that lay in their path, ultimately leading to their inability to reclaim the holy city. One of the key factors contributing to their failure was the role of leadership. Although the Crusaders had skilled commanders, their lack of unity and coordination hindered their progress. Internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces weakened their overall effectiveness, preventing them from mounting a cohesive and sustained campaign. Furthermore, the impact of geography and terrain cannot be overlooked. The Crusaders were unfamiliar with the rugged landscapes and harsh conditions of the Holy Land. This unfamiliarity placed them at a disadvantage, as they struggled to navigate the treacherous terrain and adapt their military strategies accordingly. Religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population also played a significant role. The Crusaders, driven by their Christian faith, failed to understand and respect the deeply ingrained religious and cultural practices of the Muslim inhabitants of Jerusalem. This lack of understanding further alienated the Crusaders from the local population, making it difficult for them to gain support and cooperation. Moreover, logistical challenges in supply lines proved to be a major obstacle for the Crusaders. Sustaining a large fighting force in a foreign land proved to be a daunting task, as they struggled to maintain adequate provisions and support. As a result, their military campaigns were plagued by scarcity and logistical issues, further hindering their progress. Disease and health challenges also took a toll on the Crusaders. Their inability to maintain a strong fighting force was exacerbated by the outbreak of diseases, which weakened their ranks and compromised their overall military strength. External political factors, such as the rise of powerful Muslim states, further contributed to the Crusaders' failure. The emergence of formidable adversaries, such as the Ayyubid dynasty, posed a significant threat to the Crusaders' ambitions, making it increasingly difficult for them to achieve their goal. Lastly, the Crusaders severely underestimated the resilience and determination of the local population to defend Jerusalem. Their failure to recognize the indomitable spirit of the Muslims and their deep-rooted connection to the Holy City proved fatal. The Crusaders' underestimation of their opponents' resolve ultimately sealed their fate. In conclusion, the overconfidence of the Crusaders played a pivotal role in their failed quest to recapture Jerusalem. Their lack of unity, unfamiliarity with the terrain, religious and cultural misunderstandings, logistical challenges, internal conflicts, and underestimation of their opponents all contributed to their downfall. The Crusaders' misguided sense of invincibility blinded them to the realities of the situation, ultimately leading to their inability to reclaim the Holy City. The lack of coordination among the Crusader forces. One of the key reasons for the failure of the Crusaders to recapture Jerusalem was the lack of coordination among their forces. The Crusaders, comprised of various European armies and knights, lacked a unified command structure, resulting in disorganized and disjointed efforts. The lack of coordination was evident from the very beginning of the Crusaders' campaign. Different leaders had their own agendas and strategies, often conflicting with one another. This lack of unity prevented them from forming a cohesive plan to overcome the challenges they faced. Moreover, the Crusaders' forces were composed of soldiers from different regions and cultures, who spoke different languages and had different military traditions. This further hindered effective communication and coordination on the battlefield. The lack of coordination also extended to the logistical aspects of the campaign. The Crusaders struggled to establish efficient supply lines, leading to shortages of food, water, and other essential resources. This weakened their fighting force and undermined their ability to sustain a prolonged campaign. Internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces further exacerbated the lack of coordination. Rivalries and power struggles between different leaders and factions were common, leading to infighting and disputes over strategy. This internal discord weakened the Crusaders' overall effectiveness and prevented them from presenting a united front against their enemies. Additionally, the Crusaders' failure to form effective alliances and garner support from local populations and neighboring states highlighted their lack of coordination. They underestimated the importance of diplomacy and failed to build strong alliances that could have provided crucial support in their quest to recapture Jerusalem. Overall, the lack of coordination among the Crusader forces proved to be a significant obstacle in their attempts to recapture Jerusalem. It undermined their military efforts, weakened their logistical capabilities, and prevented them from forming alliances that could have bolstered their campaign. Had the Crusaders been able to overcome their internal divisions and establish a unified command structure, their chances of success may have been much greater. However, their failure to do so ultimately contributed to their downfall in the Holy Land. The ineffectiveness of the Crusaders' siege tactics. Throughout the history of the Crusades, the European forces faced numerous challenges and obstacles in their quest to recapture the holy city of Jerusalem. One of the key factors contributing to their failure was the ineffectiveness of their siege tactics. This subchapter aims to explore the reasons behind this ineffectiveness and shed light on how it impacted the Crusaders' overall campaign. The Crusaders adopted traditional siege tactics that had proven successful in European conflicts, such as the use of siege towers, battering rams, and catapults. However, these tactics proved to be largely ineffective in the context of the Holy Land. The geography and terrain of the region played a significant role in neutralizing the Crusaders' efforts. The fortifications surrounding Jerusalem were strategically positioned on high ground, making it difficult for the European forces to breach the city walls. Moreover, the Crusaders often underestimated the resilience and determination of the local population. The defenders of Jerusalem were well aware of the Crusaders' siege tactics and had ample time to prepare their defenses accordingly. They utilized innovative methods, such as underground tunnels and counter-mining, to thwart the Crusaders' advances. Additionally, the defenders were able to sustain their resistance due to the support they received from neighboring Muslim states, which further added to the challenges faced by the Crusaders. Logistical challenges and supply lines also played a significant role in the Crusaders' inability to sustain their campaign. The Holy Land posed immense difficulties in terms of supplying the large Crusader armies with food, water, and other essential resources. These challenges were exacerbated by the long distances they had to cover and the hostile territory they had to traverse. As a result, the Crusaders often found themselves weakened and vulnerable, unable to maintain a strong fighting force. Furthermore, internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces further hindered their efforts. The various European factions had different agendas and often clashed with each other, leading to a lack of coordination and unity. This disunity weakened the Crusaders' overall strategy and made it easier for the defenders of Jerusalem to exploit their weaknesses. In conclusion, the ineffectiveness of the Crusaders' siege tactics significantly contributed to their failure to recapture Jerusalem. The geographical challenges, the resilience of the local population, logistical difficulties, internal conflicts, and divisions all played a role in neutralizing the Crusaders' efforts. This subchapter provides valuable insights into the factors that undermined the European forces and helps shed light on the complexities of the Crusades and their ultimate failure to reclaim the Holy City. Chapter 3: The Role of Leadership in the Failure of the Crusaders to Recapture Jerusalem. The incompetence of the Crusader commanders. One of the primary reasons for the Crusaders' failure to recapture Jerusalem was the incompetence of their commanders. These leaders, who were entrusted with the responsibility of directing the military campaign, often displayed a lack of strategic vision and poor decision-making skills. Firstly, the Crusader commanders failed to effectively utilize their resources and coordinate their efforts. Despite having a significant number of soldiers at their disposal, they frequently squandered these forces through disorganized and fragmented attacks. Their inability to form a unified front and devise a cohesive plan of action significantly weakened their chances of success. Moreover, the commanders' lack of understanding of the local geography and terrain played a crucial role in their failure. The Holy Land presented a unique and challenging environment, with its rugged landscapes and fortified cities. However, the Crusader commanders failed to adapt their strategies to suit these conditions, leading to numerous tactical blunders and costly defeats. Religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population further hindered their progress. The Crusaders often underestimated the resilience and determination of the Muslim defenders, and their ignorance of local customs and practices proved to be a significant disadvantage. This lack of cultural understanding not only hindered their ability to gain local support but also increased the hostility between the two sides. Logistical challenges and supply line issues also plagued the Crusader forces. The vast distances they had to cover, coupled with the scarcity of resources, made it difficult for them to sustain their campaign. Poor planning and ineffective supply lines resulted in frequent shortages and weakened the Crusaders' fighting force. Internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces further exacerbated their inability to recapture Jerusalem. Rivalries and power struggles between different factions often took precedence over the common goal, causing disunity and undermining the effectiveness of their military efforts. Additionally, the Crusader commanders' military tactics and strategies were often flawed. They relied heavily on frontal assaults and failed to adapt to the changing nature of warfare. Their lack of innovation and failure to exploit enemy weaknesses led to repeated defeats and a lack of progress. Diplomacy and alliances also played a significant role in the Crusaders' failure. They were unable to secure the necessary support from other powers, including the Byzantine Empire and local Muslim factions, which could have bolstered their chances of success. The Crusaders' isolation and inability to form mutually beneficial alliances weakened their position and ultimately contributed to their failure. Furthermore, disease and health challenges took a toll on the Crusaders' fighting force. The unfamiliar diseases and harsh living conditions in the Holy Land led to widespread illness and weakened soldiers, diminishing their ability to maintain a strong military presence. Lastly, external political factors, such as the rise of powerful Muslim states, played a crucial role in the Crusaders' failure. The emergence of formidable Muslim leaders, including Saladin, posed a significant threat to the Crusaders' ambitions. Their failure to adapt to these changing political dynamics and underestimate the strength of their adversaries proved to be a fatal mistake. In conclusion, the incompetence of the Crusader commanders significantly contributed to their failure to recapture Jerusalem. Their lack of strategic vision, poor decision-making, and failure to adapt to the unique challenges they faced ultimately undermined their campaign. The Crusaders' underestimation of the local population's resilience and determination, coupled with logistical challenges, internal conflicts, and external political factors, all played a role in their ultimate defeat. The lack of unity and cooperation among the Crusader leaders. One of the key factors that contributed to the failure of the Crusaders to recapture Jerusalem was the lack of unity and cooperation among their leaders. The Crusaders, comprised of various European factions, had different agendas and personal ambitions that often clashed, preventing them from working together effectively. The first issue that arose was the absence of a single authoritative figure to lead the Crusader forces. Instead, there were multiple leaders, each with their own army and objectives. This lack of a unified command structure led to confusion and disarray on the battlefield, as different leaders pursued their own strategies and failed to coordinate their efforts. Furthermore, the Crusader leaders were constantly engaged in internal conflicts and power struggles. Instead of focusing on the ultimate goal of recapturing Jerusalem, they were more concerned with consolidating their own power and expanding their territories. This infighting not only weakened the Crusader forces but also hindered their ability to form alliances and gain support from external sources. The religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population in Jerusalem also exacerbated the lack of unity. The Crusaders, driven by religious zeal, often clashed with the native Muslim and Jewish communities. These differences in faith and culture created a deep divide that prevented any meaningful cooperation or understanding between the two sides. Logistical challenges and supply lines also played a significant role in the Crusaders' failure. The vast distance between Europe and the Holy Land made it extremely difficult to maintain a steady flow of resources and reinforcements. This lack of supplies and support weakened the Crusaders' ability to sustain their campaign and ultimately led to their downfall. Additionally, the Crusaders underestimated the resilience and determination of the local population to defend Jerusalem. They failed to recognize that the Muslims and Jews were deeply connected to their land and were willing to fight fiercely to protect it. This underestimation further eroded the Crusaders' unity and cooperation, as they were caught off guard by the fierce resistance they encountered. In conclusion, the lack of unity and cooperation among the Crusader leaders was a significant factor in their failure to recapture Jerusalem. Internal conflicts, religious and cultural differences, logistical challenges, and underestimation of the local population's determination all contributed to the disintegration of the Crusader forces. Had they been able to overcome these obstacles and work together, the outcome of the Crusades may have been very different. Chapter 4: The Impact of Geography and Terrain on the Crusaders' Inability to Recapture Jerusalem. The challenging natural defenses of Jerusalem. One of the key factors that contributed to the failure of the Crusaders' quest to recapture Jerusalem was the challenging natural defenses of the city. Located on a rocky plateau in the heart of the Levant, Jerusalem was a formidable fortress that posed numerous obstacles to any would-be conqueror. These natural defenses played a significant role in the Crusaders' inability to regain control of the Holy City. The geography and terrain surrounding Jerusalem presented a major challenge for the Crusaders. The city was situated on a series of steep hills, making it difficult for large armies to maneuver and launch effective attacks. The Crusaders, largely comprised of heavily armored knights, found it particularly challenging to navigate the rocky terrain, which limited their mobility and made them vulnerable to ambushes from the defending forces. Moreover, the local population in Jerusalem was intimately familiar with the geography of the region, giving them a distinct advantage over the Crusaders. They knew the best vantage points, hidden paths, and strategic locations from which to defend the city, making it nearly impossible for the Crusaders to gain the upper hand. The religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population also played a significant role in hindering the Crusaders' progress. The Crusaders were primarily Western Christians, while the inhabitants of Jerusalem were predominantly Muslims and Jews. These differences not only fueled animosity and mistrust between the two groups but also made it difficult for the Crusaders to gain support and cooperation from the local population. Furthermore, the logistical challenges in supply lines proved to be a significant hurdle for the Crusaders. Jerusalem was located far from their European homelands, making it challenging to maintain a steady supply of resources, reinforcements, and provisions. The Crusaders often found themselves facing shortages of food, water, and other essential supplies, which severely weakened their ability to sustain their campaign. Internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces also contributed to their failure to recapture Jerusalem. The Crusaders were a diverse coalition of knights, soldiers, and feudal lords from different regions of Europe. These internal divisions led to infighting, rivalries, and disagreements over strategy, further undermining their collective strength and cohesion. Additionally, the military tactics and strategies employed by the Crusaders were not always effective against the defending forces in Jerusalem. The Crusaders relied heavily on traditional European siege warfare techniques, which proved to be ill-suited for the unique challenges posed by the city's natural defenses. The defenders, on the other hand, were masters of guerrilla warfare, using hit-and-run tactics and exploiting the terrain to their advantage. Diplomacy and alliances also played a crucial role in the Crusaders' failure to recapture Jerusalem. The Crusaders were unable to secure the necessary support from local rulers, such as the Byzantine Empire, and failed to form strong alliances with other powerful states in the region. This lack of diplomatic backing further weakened their position and made it increasingly difficult to sustain their campaign. Furthermore, the Crusaders underestimated the resilience and determination of the local population to defend Jerusalem. The inhabitants of the city were fiercely committed to protecting their holy sites and way of life, and they were prepared to endure great hardships and make significant sacrifices to achieve this goal. The Crusaders, on the other hand, often underestimated the resolve of their opponents, leading to strategic miscalculations and tactical errors. In conclusion, the challenging natural defenses of Jerusalem, including the geography, terrain, and the resilience of the local population, played a significant role in the failure of the Crusaders to recapture the Holy City. These factors, combined with internal conflicts, logistical challenges, and the influence of external political factors, ultimately thwarted the Crusaders' quest for Jerusalem. Understanding and analyzing these challenges provides valuable insights into the complex and multifaceted reasons behind the Crusaders' failed campaign. The difficulties faced by the Crusaders in navigating the Holy Land. The Crusades were a series of military campaigns launched by the Catholic Church in an attempt to recapture Jerusalem from Muslim control. However, despite their fervent zeal and determination, the Crusaders faced numerous challenges in navigating the Holy Land, which ultimately led to their failure in achieving their ultimate goal. One of the primary difficulties faced by the Crusaders was the role of leadership. While there were several notable military leaders among the Crusader forces, including Richard the Lionheart and Frederick Barbarossa, there was a lack of coordination and unity among them. This lack of effective leadership resulted in a failure to strategize and coordinate their efforts, ultimately weakening their overall campaign. Furthermore, the geography and terrain of the Holy Land posed significant challenges for the Crusaders. The region was characterized by vast deserts, rugged mountains, and unfamiliar landscapes. These geographical obstacles hindered the Crusaders' ability to navigate and sustain their campaign, as they were unfamiliar with the terrain and lacked the necessary supplies and resources to overcome these challenges. Moreover, the religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population in Jerusalem played a crucial role in their failure. The Crusaders viewed themselves as holy warriors fighting for a righteous cause, while the local population saw them as invading forces. This stark contrast in beliefs and values created a deep divide between the two sides, making it difficult for the Crusaders to gain the support and trust of the local population. Logistical challenges and supply lines were also major factors contributing to the Crusaders' failure. The distance between Europe and the Holy Land made it difficult to maintain a steady flow of supplies and reinforcements. Additionally, internal conflicts and divisions within the Crusader forces further weakened their ability to sustain their campaign effectively. The Crusaders' military tactics and strategies were also flawed. They often employed frontal assaults and brute force, underestimating the strategic capabilities of their opponents. This lack of innovative and adaptive military tactics played a significant role in their failure to recapture Jerusalem. Furthermore, the Crusaders' failure to gain the necessary support through diplomacy and alliances hindered their progress. They were unable to form strong alliances with local rulers and failed to secure the military and financial aid crucial for their success. Additionally, the impact of disease and health challenges cannot be overlooked. The Crusaders faced numerous health issues, including dehydration, malnutrition, and diseases like dysentery and malaria. These health challenges weakened their fighting force and made it difficult for them to maintain their strength and morale. External political factors, such as the rise of powerful Muslim states, also played a significant role in the Crusaders' failure. The emergence of powerful Muslim leaders like Saladin posed a formidable challenge to the Crusaders, who were ill-prepared to face such strong opposition. Lastly, the Crusaders underestimated the resilience and determination of the local population to defend Jerusalem. The people of Jerusalem were deeply committed to their faith and were willing to fight to the death to protect their holy city. This underestimated resilience further hindered the Crusaders' progress. In conclusion, the difficulties faced by the Crusaders in navigating the Holy Land were numerous and multifaceted. The lack of effective leadership, geographical challenges, religious and cultural differences, logistical issues, internal conflicts, flawed military tactics, the absence of diplomatic alliances, health challenges, external political factors, and underestimating the local population's resilience all contributed to their failure to recapture Jerusalem. Chapter 5: The influence of religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population in Jerusalem. The clash of religious beliefs and practices. Religion played a crucial role in the Crusaders' failed quest to recapture Jerusalem. The clash of religious beliefs and practices between the Crusaders and the local population in Jerusalem greatly influenced the outcome of the campaign. This subchapter aims to explore the impact of these differences and shed light on why the Crusaders were unable to achieve their goal. The Crusaders, predominantly Christians from Western Europe, embarked on their holy mission with a fervent belief that their cause was righteous. They sought to reclaim Jerusalem from the Muslims, who had controlled the city for centuries. However, the local population, consisting of Muslims, Jews, and Christians, Eastern Orthodox and Oriental, had their own deeply rooted religious beliefs and practices. These religious and cultural differences posed significant challenges for the Crusaders. The local population's unwavering determination to defend Jerusalem was fueled by their strong religious convictions. They saw the Crusaders as foreign invaders who threatened their way of life. This resistance, coupled with the Crusaders' inability to understand and respect the local customs and traditions, created a hostile environment that hindered their progress. Furthermore, the Crusaders' failure to gain the necessary support from local allies was also attributed to these religious and cultural differences. Diplomacy and alliances were crucial in the Crusaders' quest, but their inability to bridge the gap between their own religious beliefs and those of the locals proved to be a significant setback. The Crusaders' underestimation of the local population's resilience and determination to defend Jerusalem was another key factor in their failure. The Crusaders had anticipated an easy victory, assuming that the locals would surrender or flee at the sight of their mighty army. However, they grossly underestimated the deep-rooted connection the locals had with their city and their unwavering commitment to protect it. In conclusion, the clash of religious beliefs and practices played a pivotal role in the Crusaders' inability to recapture Jerusalem. The failure to understand and respect the religious and cultural differences between themselves and the local population created a hostile environment that hindered their progress. Additionally, their underestimation of the locals' determination and the failure to gain necessary support further contributed to their downfall. The Crusaders' quest for Jerusalem serves as a valuable lesson in the importance of understanding and respecting religious diversity in any conflict or conquest. The cultural misunderstandings and prejudices. In their fervent quest to recapture Jerusalem during the Crusades, the Crusaders faced a multitude of challenges that ultimately led to their failure. One significant factor that contributed to their downfall was the cultural misunderstandings and prejudices that existed between the Crusaders and the local population in Jerusalem. The Crusaders, hailing from Western Europe, were largely unfamiliar with the customs, traditions, and religious practices of the people in the Holy Land. This lack of understanding often led to misunderstandings and tensions between the two groups. The Crusaders saw themselves as righteous warriors fighting for a holy cause, while the locals viewed them as invaders and aggressors. These cultural differences created a deep divide and hindered any possibility of cooperation or peaceful resolution. Religious differences also played a crucial role in exacerbating the misunderstandings and prejudices. The Crusaders, predominantly Christians, held strong religious convictions and saw themselves as the rightful owners of Jerusalem. On the other hand, the local population, consisting mainly of Muslims and Jews, had a deep connection to the city and were determined to defend it at all costs. This clash of religious ideologies further fueled the animosity between the two sides and made any form of reconciliation nearly impossible. Logistical challenges and supply lines also contributed to the failure of the Crusaders. The vast distance between Western Europe and the Holy Land made it incredibly difficult to maintain a constant flow of resources and reinforcements. The Crusaders struggled to sustain their campaign due to shortages of food, water, and ammunition. This lack of logistical support severely weakened their military capabilities and hindered their ability to mount successful offensives. Internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces further compounded their inability to recapture Jerusalem. The Crusaders were a diverse group of individuals with varying motives and agendas. Disputes over leadership, conflicting strategies, and personal rivalries often led to infighting and disunity among their ranks. These internal divisions weakened their overall military strength and made them vulnerable to attacks from the local population. The Crusaders also underestimated the resilience and determination of the local population to defend Jerusalem. They failed to recognize the strong sense of identity and attachment that the people had to their homeland. The locals fought with unwavering determination and used their knowledge of the terrain and geography to their advantage. This underestimated resistance further demoralized the Crusaders and ultimately led to their defeat. In conclusion, the cultural misunderstandings and prejudices that existed between the Crusaders and the local population in Jerusalem played a significant role in their failure to recapture the Holy City. These differences, coupled with logistical challenges, internal conflicts, and underestimation of the locals' resilience, ultimately led to the downfall of the Crusaders' quest for Jerusalem. The lessons learned from this historical event serve as a reminder of the importance of understanding and respecting different cultures and ideologies in any military campaign. Chapter 6: The Role of Logistical Challenges and Supply Lines in the Crusaders' Failure to Sustain Their Campaign. The struggles with food, water, and equipment supply. One of the key factors contributing to the failure of the Crusaders' quest to recapture Jerusalem was their constant struggles with food, water, and equipment supply. These logistical challenges posed significant obstacles to the sustainability of their campaign and ultimately weakened their chances of success. The Crusaders, comprised of knights, soldiers, and volunteers from various European countries, were ill-prepared for the harsh conditions they encountered in the Holy Land. The arid climate and unfamiliar terrain made it difficult to find and secure sources of food and water. The local population, well accustomed to the environment, had an advantage in navigating the region and accessing essential resources. This gave them an upper hand in defending their territories against the Crusaders' advances. Furthermore, the Crusaders' supply lines were constantly threatened by raids from Muslim forces, making it challenging to maintain a steady flow of provisions. The vast distances between Europe and the Holy Land also created logistical difficulties in transporting necessary equipment and reinforcements. As a result, the Crusaders often found themselves in precarious situations, lacking the necessary resources to sustain their campaign. Internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces further exacerbated their supply issues. Different factions within the Crusader army competed for resources and power, often leading to infighting and discord. These internal disputes not only hampered their ability to effectively coordinate their supply lines but also weakened their overall military strength. The Crusaders' underestimation of the local population's resilience and determination to defend Jerusalem also played a significant role in their struggles with supply. They failed to recognize the deep religious and cultural ties the people of Jerusalem had to their land, fueling their determination to resist the Crusaders' advances. This made it incredibly difficult for the Crusaders to gain the support and cooperation of the local population, hindering their ability to access vital resources. In conclusion, the Crusaders' struggles with food, water, and equipment supply were significant factors in their failure to recapture Jerusalem. Their lack of preparedness for the harsh conditions of the Holy Land, the constant threat to their supply lines, internal conflicts, and their underestimation of the local population's resilience all contributed to their inability to sustain their campaign. These logistical challenges ultimately weakened their military strength and hindered their chances of success in reclaiming the Holy City. The inadequate planning and execution of logistics. The Crusaders' quest to recapture Jerusalem was marred by numerous factors that ultimately contributed to their failure. One of the key elements that hindered their progress was the inadequate planning and execution of logistics. This subchapter delves into the critical role logistical challenges played in the Crusaders' inability to sustain their campaign and reclaim Jerusalem. Logistics, The management of resources, supply lines, and transportation is a fundamental aspect of any military campaign. Unfortunately, the Crusaders failed to understand the importance of efficient logistics, leading to a series of disastrous consequences. Supply lines were poorly organized, resulting in shortages of food, weapons, and other essential provisions. This severely weakened the Crusaders' ability to maintain a strong fighting force and undermined their chances of success. The geographical and terrain challenges of the Holy Land further compounded the Crusaders' logistical woes. The unfamiliar and unforgiving landscape, characterized by arid deserts, steep hills, and treacherous mountain passes, posed significant obstacles to the movement of troops and supplies. The Crusaders' lack of knowledge and preparation for the region's geography proved to be a grave mistake, as it hindered their ability to navigate and effectively utilize their resources. Moreover, the religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population also contributed to logistical challenges. The Crusaders' ignorance of the customs, traditions, and languages of the people they encountered created communication barriers and hindered effective coordination. Additionally, the Crusaders' inability to understand and respect the local culture resulted in strained relationships and limited support from the indigenous population, further exacerbating their logistical predicament. Internal conflicts and divisions within the Crusader forces only worsened their logistical challenges. Disagreements among leaders, power struggles, and rivalries weakened their unity and coordination. This internal strife further hampered the efficient organization and execution of logistics, leaving the Crusaders vulnerable and ill-prepared for the challenges they faced. In conclusion, the Crusaders' failure to recapture Jerusalem can be attributed, in part, to their inadequate planning and execution of logistics. The mismanagement of resources, poor organization of supply lines, and lack of understanding of the terrain and local culture all contributed to their downfall. Had the Crusaders prioritized and effectively addressed these logistical challenges, their campaign might have had a different outcome. However, their failure to do so ultimately proved fatal to their quest for Jerusalem. Chapter 7: The impact of internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces on their inability to recapture Jerusalem. The feuds and power struggles within the Crusader camps. One of the key reasons for the failure of the Crusaders to recapture Jerusalem was the internal conflicts and power struggles that plagued their camps. These feuds weakened their unity and cohesion, making it nearly impossible to mount a successful campaign. Within the Crusader ranks, there were multiple factions vying for power and influence. Different leaders and nobles had their own agendas and ambitions, often conflicting with one another. This lack of a unified leadership structure led to infighting and rivalries, which greatly hampered their ability to coordinate and execute effective military strategies. Furthermore, the Crusaders were comprised of individuals from various European countries, each with their own cultural and religious differences. These differences often led to tensions and mistrust within the camps. The inability to find common ground and work together as a cohesive force weakened their overall strength and resolve. Another factor that contributed to the feuds and power struggles was the logistical challenges and supply line issues faced by the Crusaders. The vast distances they had to cover and the difficulties in maintaining a steady flow of resources exacerbated existing tensions. Limited access to food, water, and other essential supplies created a sense of desperation and further fueled internal conflicts. In addition, the Crusaders underestimated the resilience and determination of the local population in Jerusalem. They failed to recognize that the people they were up against were not only deeply rooted in their faith but were also willing to fight to the death to defend their city. This underestimation led to complacency and a lack of strategic planning, ultimately contributing to their failure. Moreover, external political factors played a significant role in the Crusaders' inability to recapture Jerusalem. The rise of powerful Muslim states, such as the Ayyubid dynasty, posed a formidable challenge to their campaign. These states had strong leadership and were able to mobilize their forces effectively against the Crusaders. The lack of support and alliances from other European powers further weakened the Crusaders' position. Ultimately, the feuds and power struggles within the Crusader camps played a critical role in their failure to recapture Jerusalem. The lack of unity, combined with logistical challenges, cultural differences, and underestimation of the local population, all contributed to their downfall. Had they been able to overcome these internal conflicts and forge a stronger, more cohesive force, the outcome of their quest for Jerusalem may have been very different. The disunity and rivalry among different Crusader factions. The Crusaders' failed quest to recapture Jerusalem was not solely due to external factors such as strong Muslim states or the resilience of the local population. Internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces played a significant role in their inability to achieve their goal. From the outset, the Crusaders were a diverse and fragmented group, comprising different factions and nationalities with varying agendas. The lack of a unified command structure and common purpose hindered their ability to effectively coordinate their efforts. Instead of working together towards a common objective, these factions often engaged in bitter power struggles and rivalries, further weakening their position. One of the main reasons for this disunity was the absence of strong and capable leadership. Many leaders emerged during the Crusades, but their lack of experience and conflicting ambitions led to a constant power struggle. These internal divisions prevented the Crusaders from presenting a united front and making strategic decisions that could have tipped the balance in their favor. Furthermore, the Crusaders' failure to understand and adapt to the geography and terrain of the Holy Land also contributed to their defeat. The unfamiliar landscape and harsh conditions posed significant challenges to their military operations. Their lack of knowledge and effective strategies for maneuvering the difficult terrain put them at a disadvantage against the local Muslim forces who were well acquainted with the land. Religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population in Jerusalem also played a significant role in their failure. The Crusaders viewed themselves as superior and often displayed a sense of religious intolerance towards the Muslims and other non-Christian groups. This alienated the local population, making it difficult for the Crusaders to gain their support or form alliances, further isolating them in their campaign. Additionally, the Crusaders faced significant logistical challenges and supply line issues. The vast distance from their European homelands made it difficult to maintain a steady flow of troops and supplies. This lack of resources and the inability to sustain their campaign weakened their overall position and made it difficult to mount a sustained offensive. In conclusion, the disunity and rivalry among different Crusader factions proved to be a major contributing factor to their failure to recapture Jerusalem. The lack of strong leadership, the influence of religious and cultural differences, and the internal conflicts all played a role in their inability to achieve their objective. By underestimating the resilience and determination of the local population and failing to adapt to the challenging terrain, the Crusaders ultimately fell short in their quest for Jerusalem. Chapter 8: The significance of military tactics and strategies employed by the Crusaders in their failed attempts to recapture Jerusalem. The ineffective use of siege engines and assault techniques. Throughout history, siege engines and assault techniques have been crucial in warfare, allowing armies to breach fortifications and conquer enemy territories. However, in the Crusaders' quest to recapture Jerusalem, these tactics proved largely ineffective, contributing to their ultimate failure. One reason for the Crusaders' ineffectiveness in siege warfare was their lack of experience and knowledge. Many of the Crusaders were not trained soldiers but rather knights and nobles who were ill-prepared for the challenges of siege warfare. They lacked the technical expertise required to operate the complex siege engines, such as trebuchets and battering rams, effectively. As a result, their assaults on Jerusalem's fortified walls often ended in failure. Furthermore, the Crusaders faced significant challenges due to the geography and terrain surrounding Jerusalem. The city was located on a rocky hill, making it difficult for siege engines to gain traction and effectively breach the walls. The Crusaders' inability to adapt their assault techniques to the unique terrain further hindered their progress in recapturing Jerusalem. Religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population also played a role in their failure. The Crusaders, motivated by their zeal for Christianity, often underestimated the resilience and determination of the Muslim defenders. This underestimation led to a lack of understanding of the local tactics and strategies employed by the defenders, further hampering the Crusaders' efforts. Logistical challenges and supply lines were additional factors that contributed to the Crusaders' inability to sustain their campaign. The long distances and harsh terrain made it difficult to maintain a constant flow of supplies and reinforcements, weakening the Crusaders' fighting force and diminishing their chances of success. Internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces further compounded their failure. The various factions, comprised of different nationalities and competing interests, often clashed and undermined each other's efforts. This lack of unity and coordination significantly weakened the Crusaders' overall military strength. Disease and health challenges also took a toll on the Crusaders' ability to maintain a strong fighting force. The unsanitary conditions and lack of medical knowledge led to the spread of diseases, further weakening the Crusaders' ranks and limiting their ability to sustain a prolonged campaign. External political factors, such as the rise of powerful Muslim states, also played a significant role in the Crusaders' failure. The emergence of formidable Muslim leaders, like Saladin, who united the Muslim forces and effectively countered the Crusaders' advances, proved to be a formidable obstacle that the Crusaders were ill-equipped to overcome. Lastly, the Crusaders underestimated the local population's resilience and determination to defend Jerusalem. The people of Jerusalem, motivated by their own religious and cultural beliefs, fought fiercely to protect their city. This determination, combined with the Crusaders' lack of understanding and underestimation, ultimately contributed to their failure. In summary, the ineffective use of siege engines and assault techniques was one of the many reasons for the Crusaders' failed quest to recapture Jerusalem. Their lack of experience, challenges posed by the geography and terrain, religious and cultural differences, logistical issues, internal conflicts, disease, external political factors, and underestimation of the local population's determination all played a role in their inability to achieve their goal. The Crusaders' failure serves as a reminder of the importance of understanding and adapting to the unique challenges of a given conflict, as well as the significance of unity, experience, and strategic planning in warfare. The misguided battle plans and strategies. In the quest for Jerusalem, the Crusaders were met with numerous obstacles and challenges that ultimately led to their failure in recapturing the Holy City. One of the key factors that contributed to their downfall was the misguided battle plans and strategies they employed. Firstly, the lack of effective leadership played a significant role in the Crusaders' failure. The absence of a unified command structure and the constant power struggles among the Crusader leaders hindered their ability to coordinate their efforts effectively. This lack of leadership resulted in poor decision-making and a disorganized approach to the campaign. Furthermore, the geography and terrain of the Holy Land presented significant challenges for the Crusaders. The rugged and unfamiliar landscape made it difficult for them to navigate and launch successful military campaigns. The local population, on the other hand, had the advantage of knowing the land intimately, allowing them to launch effective guerrilla warfare tactics against the Crusaders. Religious and cultural differences also played a significant role in the Crusaders' failure. The Crusaders, predominantly Western European Christians, often clashed with the local Muslim and Jewish populations, who had deep-rooted connections to the city of Jerusalem. These differences in religious and cultural beliefs created a hostile environment and made it challenging for the Crusaders to gain the support and cooperation of the local population. logistical challenges and supply lines were additional factors that undermined the Crusaders' ability to sustain their campaign. The vast distances and the need to transport supplies and reinforcements from Europe placed a strain on their resources. Inadequate supply lines and the constant threat of raids from Muslim forces weakened the Crusaders and hindered their ability to maintain a strong fighting force. Internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces also played a significant role in their failure. Rivalries and disputes between different factions within the Crusader army weakened their unity and undermined their effectiveness. This internal discord further exacerbated their already precarious situation. The Crusaders' military tactics and strategies were also flawed. Their heavy reliance on traditional European warfare techniques, such as frontal assaults and sieges, proved ineffective against the more adaptable and mobile Muslim forces. The Crusaders failed to adapt their strategies to the unique challenges posed by the Holy Land, leading to their repeated defeat. Diplomacy and alliances were crucial in gaining the necessary support to recapture Jerusalem, yet the Crusaders failed to secure meaningful alliances with local factions or powerful external forces. Their inability to build strong alliances greatly diminished their chances of success. The impact of disease and health challenges cannot be overlooked. The Crusaders were plagued by various illnesses, including dysentery and malaria, which weakened their fighting force and undermined their ability to sustain a prolonged campaign. External political factors, such as the rise of powerful Muslim states like the Ayyubids and the Seljuks, further contributed to the Crusaders' failure. These formidable opponents posed a significant threat and ultimately outmatched the Crusaders in terms of military strength and resources. Lastly, the Crusaders underestimated the resilience and determination of the local population to defend Jerusalem. The inhabitants of the Holy Land were fiercely committed to protecting their city and were willing to endure great hardship and sacrifice to defend it. This unwavering determination proved to be a significant obstacle for the Crusaders. In conclusion, the misguided battle plans and strategies employed by the Crusaders significantly contributed to their failure in recapturing Jerusalem. The lack of effective leadership, the impact of geography and terrain, religious and cultural differences, logistical challenges, internal conflicts, flawed military tactics, failed diplomacy and alliances, health challenges, external political factors, and underestimation of the local population's resilience all played a role in their ultimate defeat. The lessons learned from these mistakes have shaped military strategy and continue to be studied today. Chapter 9: The Role of Diplomacy and Alliances in the Crusaders' Failure to Gain the Necessary Support to Recapture Jerusalem. The lack of diplomatic skill and negotiation efforts. One of the key factors that contributed to the failure of the Crusaders to recapture Jerusalem was their lack of diplomatic skill and effective negotiation efforts. This subchapter will delve into the various ways in which their diplomatic shortcomings hindered their quest for the Holy Land. Firstly, the Crusaders failed to recognize the importance of building alliances and partnerships with local leaders and communities. Instead, they approached the local population with a sense of superiority and arrogance, disregarding their customs, traditions, and religious beliefs. This approach created an immediate sense of hostility and resistance among the local population, making it incredibly difficult for the Crusaders to gain any support or cooperation. Furthermore, the Crusaders' inability to understand and respect the cultural and religious differences between themselves and the locals also proved detrimental. The local population held a deep-rooted attachment to Jerusalem, considering it a holy city, and were willing to go to great lengths to defend it. However, the Crusaders failed to comprehend this passion, leading to a complete underestimation of the locals' resilience and determination to protect their sacred city. Additionally, the Crusaders' lack of diplomatic skill meant that they were unable to form alliances with other powerful forces in the region. This failure to gain the necessary support to recapture Jerusalem weakened their military position significantly. While the Crusaders were engaged in their campaign, powerful Muslim states were rising to power in the region, posing a formidable challenge to their efforts. Had the Crusaders been more adept at diplomacy and negotiation, they may have been able to secure the support of other forces and increase their chances of success. Moreover, the Crusaders' failure to engage in effective negotiation efforts also impacted their logistical challenges and supply lines. Diplomatic negotiations could have helped them secure safe passage through territories, access to vital resources, and crucial trade routes. Without these negotiations, the Crusaders faced numerous hardships, including scarcity of provisions, diseases, and weakened fighting forces. In conclusion, the Crusaders' lack of diplomatic skill and ineffective negotiation efforts played a significant role in their failure to recapture Jerusalem. Their approach of superiority, disregard for cultural differences, and failure to form alliances hindered their military campaigns and ultimately led to their downfall. Had they recognized the importance of diplomacy, the outcome of the Crusades may have been drastically different. The failure to form strong alliances with local and regional powers. One of the key reasons for the Crusaders' failure to recapture Jerusalem was their inability to form strong alliances with local and regional powers. This failure had significant implications for their campaign and ultimately led to their downfall. The Crusaders, driven by their religious zeal, embarked on a quest to reclaim Jerusalem from the Muslim forces that had taken control. However, their inability to build alliances with the local and regional powers in the Holy Land proved to be a major hindrance. The Crusaders were outsiders, arriving from Europe with different cultural and religious backgrounds. Their inability to understand and respect the customs and traditions of the local population created a barrier between them and their potential allies. The local and regional powers, such as the Byzantine Empire and the various Muslim states, had a vested interest in maintaining their own control over the Holy Land. They were wary of the Crusaders' intentions and were not willing to fully support their cause. The Crusaders' failure to build trust and establish diplomatic relationships with these powers left them isolated and vulnerable. Furthermore, the Crusaders' lack of understanding of the political dynamics of the region also played a significant role in their failure to form alliances. They failed to recognize the rise of powerful Muslim states, such as the Seljuk Turks and later the Ayyubid dynasty under Saladin, who united the Muslim forces against the Crusaders. These Muslim powers were able to leverage their alliances and strong regional networks to counter the Crusaders' efforts. The Crusaders' failure to form strong alliances also had a direct impact on their logistical challenges and supply lines. Without the support of local powers, they struggled to secure food, water, and other essential resources for their campaign. This weakened their overall military capabilities and made it increasingly difficult for them to sustain their presence in the region. In conclusion, the failure to form strong alliances with local and regional powers was a critical factor in the Crusaders' inability to recapture Jerusalem. Their lack of understanding, respect for local customs, and failure to recognize the political dynamics of the region all contributed to their isolation and vulnerability. Without the necessary support and resources, the Crusaders were unable to sustain their campaign and ultimately lost their quest for Jerusalem. Chapter 10: The Impact of Disease and Health Challenges on the Crusaders' Ability to Maintain a Strong Fighting Force. The devastating effects of epidemics and illnesses. Throughout history, epidemics and illnesses have had a profound impact on societies and their ability to achieve their goals. In the case of the Crusaders' failed quest for Jerusalem, these devastating effects played a significant role in their ultimate defeat. One of the primary reasons for the Crusaders' failure to recapture Jerusalem was the rampant spread of diseases within their ranks. As they journeyed through unfamiliar lands, the Crusaders were exposed to new pathogens and had little immunity to these illnesses. Plagued by outbreaks of dysentery, typhus, and other deadly diseases, their forces were weakened and decimated, making it difficult to sustain a strong fighting force. The harsh geography and terrain of the Holy Land also contributed to the Crusaders' inability to achieve their goal. The arid climate and lack of resources made it challenging to establish supply lines, resulting in the depletion of their provisions. This, coupled with the constant threat of ambushes from local forces, hindered the Crusaders' ability to sustain their campaign. Religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population in Jerusalem further complicated their quest. The Crusaders, driven by their zealous religious beliefs, failed to understand and respect the customs and traditions of the inhabitants. This led to animosity and resistance from the locals, who were determined to defend their city against the invading forces. Internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces also played a significant role in their failure. Different factions vying for power and control undermined their unity and weakened their military strength. This internal strife further hindered their ability to mount a successful campaign and recapture Jerusalem. The Crusaders' military tactics and strategies were also ineffective in the face of the formidable defenses of the city. Their traditional European methods were ill-suited for the unique challenges posed by the fortified walls and skilled Muslim defenders. Their lack of adaptability and failure to employ more effective strategies ultimately contributed to their defeat. Furthermore, the Crusaders' inability to gain necessary support through diplomacy and alliances was a critical factor in their failure. They underestimated the political landscape of the region and failed to secure crucial alliances with local leaders. This lack of support further weakened their position and made it increasingly difficult to achieve their objective. Lastly, the rise of powerful Muslim states in the region presented an external political challenge that the Crusaders were ill-prepared to face. The emergence of formidable opponents such as the Ayyubid dynasty and the Seljuk Turks shifted the balance of power and made the recapture of Jerusalem increasingly difficult. In conclusion, the devastating effects of epidemics and illnesses, coupled with the impact of geography, religious and cultural differences, logistical challenges, internal conflicts, military tactics, diplomacy, external political factors, and underestimation of the local population's determination, all played a significant role in the Crusaders' failed quest for Jerusalem. These factors not only weakened their forces but also hindered their ability to sustain their campaign and overcome the resilient defenders of the Holy City. The inadequate medical care and hygiene practices. One of the key factors contributing to the failure of the Crusaders in their quest to recapture Jerusalem was the inadequate medical care and hygiene practices they employed. This subchapter will delve into the impact of these factors on the Crusaders' ability to sustain their campaign and maintain a strong fighting force. The Crusaders, coming from different regions of Europe, were not accustomed to the harsh conditions of the Holy Land. The unfamiliar climate and environment posed significant health challenges for the European warriors. The Crusaders lacked proper knowledge and understanding of the diseases prevalent in the region, leading to a high mortality rate within their ranks. Diseases such as malaria, dysentery, and typhus were rampant, decimating their forces and weakening their ability to fight effectively. Furthermore, the Crusaders' lack of proper sanitation practices exacerbated the spread of diseases. The overcrowded camps and lack of clean water sources created the perfect breeding grounds for illness. Inadequate waste disposal and lack of hygiene awareness further contributed to the deterioration of their health and well-being. The Crusaders' failure to establish proper medical facilities and care for their wounded soldiers also played a significant role in their downfall. Unlike their Muslim counterparts, who had sophisticated hospitals and access to skilled physicians, the Crusaders had limited resources and knowledge in the field of medicine. This lack of medical support resulted in a higher mortality rate among their injured soldiers, further weakening their forces. Moreover, the Crusaders' inability to adapt to the local environment and adopt the hygiene practices of the local population proved detrimental. The Muslim inhabitants of the Holy Land had developed a better understanding of the region's diseases and had implemented effective measures to prevent their spread. The Crusaders' refusal to learn from the locals and their dismissal of their practices as inferior ultimately proved to be a grave mistake. In conclusion, the inadequate medical care and hygiene practices employed by the Crusaders significantly impacted their ability to sustain their campaign and recapture Jerusalem. The lack of knowledge about local diseases, the absence of proper sanitation practices, and the failure to establish adequate medical facilities all contributed to their downfall. The Crusaders' underestimation of the importance of these factors and their refusal to learn from the local population's practices ultimately led to their failure in their quest for Jerusalem. Chapter 11: The influence of external political factors, such as the rise of powerful Muslim states, on the Crusaders' failure to recapture Jerusalem. The growing strength and unity of Muslim rulers. In their quest to recapture Jerusalem, the Crusaders faced numerous challenges that ultimately led to their failure. One of the key factors contributing to their defeat was the growing strength and unity of the Muslim rulers in the Holy Land. Throughout the years leading up to the Crusades, various Muslim dynasties had established themselves as powerful forces in the region. They had learned from previous invasions and had developed effective military tactics and strategies to defend their territories. Moreover, these rulers understood the importance of unity and cooperation in the face of a common enemy. The Muslim rulers forged alliances and created a united front against the invading Crusaders. They put aside their differences and worked together to protect their lands and the sacred city of Jerusalem. This unity proved to be a formidable obstacle for the Crusaders, as they faced a united and determined Muslim force. Additionally, the Muslim rulers were able to leverage the power of their geography and terrain to their advantage. The Holy Land, with its challenging landscapes and fortified cities, posed significant challenges for the Crusaders. The local Muslim forces were familiar with the terrain and used it to their advantage, launching guerrilla-style attacks and ambushing the Crusader armies. The religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population also hindered their progress. The Crusaders, driven by religious zeal, failed to understand and respect the Muslim traditions and beliefs of the people they encountered. This led to mistrust and animosity, making it difficult for the Crusaders to gain support or alliances with the local population. Furthermore, the Crusaders faced logistical challenges and struggled to maintain their supply lines. The vast distances they had to cover and the hostile territories they traversed made it extremely difficult for them to sustain their campaign. This lack of resources and provisions weakened their forces and made them vulnerable to counterattacks from the Muslim rulers. Internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces further contributed to their failure. Different factions and leaders often had conflicting agendas and strategies, leading to disarray and a lack of cohesive action. This disunity weakened their overall strength and made it easier for the Muslim rulers to exploit their weaknesses. The rise of powerful Muslim states also played a significant role in the Crusaders' failure. The Muslim rulers, such as Salah ad-Din and Nur ad-Din, had established strong and centralized states that were capable of organizing and mobilizing large armies. These states provided the necessary support and resources to repel the Crusader invasions. Lastly, the Crusaders underestimated the resilience and determination of the local Muslim population. They failed to recognize the deep-rooted connection the people had with their land and their unwavering commitment to protect it. This underestimation led to their downfall, as they were met with fierce resistance at every turn. In conclusion, the growing strength and unity of the Muslim rulers in the Holy Land played a crucial role in the Crusaders' failure to recapture Jerusalem. The Muslim rulers' alliances, military tactics, geographic advantages, and strong states proved insurmountable obstacles for the Crusaders. Moreover, the Crusaders' lack of understanding and respect for the local population's culture and determination further hindered their progress. Ultimately, the Crusaders' failure can be attributed to a combination of internal and external factors that worked against their quest for Jerusalem. The political support and resources of Muslim allies. One crucial aspect that contributed to the Crusaders' failed quest for Jerusalem was their lack of political support and resources from Muslim allies. While the Crusaders were driven by religious zeal to recapture the Holy Land, they failed to recognize the importance of forging alliances and gaining support from local Muslim rulers. The political landscape in the region was complex, with various Muslim states vying for power and influence. Notably, the Crusaders failed to establish strong alliances with Muslim rulers who could have provided vital resources and strategic support. Instead, they often resorted to hostility and aggression towards the local population, which further alienated potential allies. Had the Crusaders recognized the potential benefits of forming alliances, they could have tapped into the military prowess and resources of Muslim allies. These allies could have provided valuable intelligence, knowledge of the terrain, and experienced fighters familiar with the local tactics employed by Muslim forces. Furthermore, Muslim allies could have facilitated logistical support, ensuring a steady supply of provisions and reinforcements for the Crusaders. The failure to establish strong supply lines and sustain their campaign was a significant factor in the Crusaders' inability to maintain a strong fighting force. Diplomacy also played a crucial role in the Crusaders' failure. By neglecting the opportunity to negotiate and secure alliances, the Crusaders isolated themselves from potential political support. Muslim rulers, who saw the Crusaders as foreign invaders, were less likely to offer assistance or cooperation to their cause. Moreover, the rise of powerful Muslim states in the region posed a significant challenge to the Crusaders. The emergence of states such as the Seljuk Turks and the Ayyubid dynasty, under the leadership of Saladin, presented a formidable opposition that the Crusaders were ill-prepared to face. These Muslim states enjoyed strong political support, vast resources, and the unifying factor of a common faith, which the Crusaders lacked. In conclusion, the Crusaders' failure to secure political support and resources from Muslim allies significantly contributed to their inability to recapture Jerusalem. By neglecting diplomacy, underestimating the local population's resilience, and failing to recognize the potential benefits of forming alliances, the Crusaders found themselves isolated and ill-equipped to face the challenges of the Holy Land. Their failure highlights the importance of political support and resources in achieving military objectives, especially in a complex and politically charged environment like the Crusades. Chapter 12: The significance of the Crusaders' underestimation of the local population's resilience and determination to defend Jerusalem. The courage and determination of the local Muslim and Jewish defenders. The Crusaders' failed quest to recapture Jerusalem was a result of numerous factors, including the courage and determination of the local Muslim and Jewish defenders. These defenders, despite being outnumbered and facing overwhelming odds, displayed unwavering resilience in protecting their beloved city from the invading Crusader forces. The local Muslim and Jewish defenders understood the significance of Jerusalem to their respective religions and cultures. For Muslims, it was the third holiest city in Islam, and for Jews, it held deep historical and religious importance. This shared reverence for Jerusalem united the defenders and fueled their determination to safeguard their sacred land. The geographical and terrain advantages of Jerusalem also played a crucial role in the local defenders' ability to withstand the Crusaders. The city's fortified walls, narrow streets, and strategic positions made it difficult for the Crusaders to penetrate and conquer. The defenders used their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage, utilizing guerrilla tactics and launching surprise attacks on the Crusader forces. Furthermore, the religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population in Jerusalem contributed to the defenders' resilience. The Crusaders, driven by religious zeal, often failed to understand the deep-rooted connection the locals had with their city. This cultural divide fueled the defenders' determination to protect their way of life, their faith, and their ancestral homeland. Logistical challenges and supply lines also played a significant role in the Crusaders' failure. The local defenders, intimately familiar with the region, exploited the Crusaders' difficulties in maintaining a steady supply of resources. By cutting off supply routes and launching raids on Crusader convoys, they weakened the invaders' ability to sustain their campaign. Internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces further contributed to their inability to recapture Jerusalem. The local defenders capitalized on these divisions, exploiting the lack of unity and coordination among the Crusaders. They strategically targeted vulnerable factions, exacerbating the disarray within the invading forces. Additionally, the military tactics and strategies employed by the Crusaders proved ineffective against the determined defenders. The locals, well-versed in defensive warfare, utilized their knowledge of the city's layout and their superior understanding of guerrilla warfare to repel the Crusaders' attacks. The defenders' ability to forge alliances and engage in diplomatic negotiations also contributed to the Crusaders' failure. By seeking support from powerful Muslim states and leveraging existing alliances, the local defenders gained the necessary backing to resist the Crusaders' advances. The impact of disease and health challenges cannot be overlooked either. The Crusaders, unaccustomed to the local environment, fell victim to various illnesses and epidemics. This weakened their fighting force and hindered their ability to sustain a prolonged campaign. Furthermore, the rise of powerful Muslim states in the region played a crucial role in the Crusaders' failure. These states, such as the Ayyubids and the Fatimids, provided substantial military support to the local defenders, tipping the scales in their favor. Ultimately, the Crusaders' failure to recapture Jerusalem stemmed from their underestimation of the local population's resilience and determination. The defenders' unwavering courage, deep-rooted connection to their land, and their ability to exploit the Crusaders' weaknesses ultimately thwarted the invaders' quest for Jerusalem. The failure to recognize the deep emotional and spiritual connection to Jerusalem. In the tumultuous history of the Crusades, one crucial aspect that the Crusaders failed to recognize was the deep emotional and spiritual connection that the people of Jerusalem had with their Holy Land. This failure had a significant impact on the Crusaders' inability to recapture the city. Jerusalem held immense religious significance for both Christians and Muslims, and the local population's unwavering determination to defend their land stemmed from their deeply rooted beliefs. The Crusaders, however, failed to understand the strength of this connection and underestimated the resilience of the local people. The role of leadership also played a pivotal role in the Crusaders' failure to recapture Jerusalem. The lack of effective leadership and coordination among the Crusader forces hindered their ability to mount a successful campaign. Internal conflicts and divisions further weakened their efforts, as rivalries and power struggles consumed valuable resources and time. Geography and terrain presented formidable challenges for the Crusaders. The Holy Land's rugged landscapes and fortified cities made it difficult for the Crusaders to launch effective military campaigns. The local population, well acquainted with the terrain, utilized guerrilla warfare tactics, ambushing the Crusaders and exploiting their lack of familiarity with the land. Religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population also played a significant role in their failure. The Crusaders' attempts to impose their own religious beliefs and cultural norms upon the people of Jerusalem only served to alienate and provoke resistance. This further heightened the determination of the locals to defend their land at all costs. Logistical challenges and supply lines posed another significant obstacle for the Crusaders. Sustaining their campaign in a foreign land proved to be a formidable task, as they struggled to maintain a consistent supply of food, water, and weapons. This weakened their fighting force and hindered their ability to launch sustained offensives. The rise of powerful Muslim states in the region also had a profound impact on the Crusaders' failure. The military prowess and political alliances of these states posed a formidable challenge, overwhelming the Crusaders and preventing them from gaining the necessary support to recapture Jerusalem. Disease and health challenges further weakened the Crusaders' ability to maintain a strong fighting force. The harsh conditions, unfamiliar diseases, and lack of medical resources took a toll on their troops, diminishing their numbers and overall effectiveness. Ultimately, the Crusaders' underestimation of the local population's resilience and determination to defend Jerusalem proved to be their downfall. The people of Jerusalem fought passionately to protect their land, drawing strength from their deep emotional and spiritual connection to the Holy City. In the grand tapestry of history, the Crusaders' failure to recognize and respect this deep connection to Jerusalem stands as a glaring example of the complexities and challenges that arise when attempting to conquer foreign lands. It serves as a reminder that the power of faith and a strong sense of identity can be formidable obstacles to overcome. Conclusion: lessons learned from the Crusaders' failed quest for Jerusalem. Throughout history, the Crusaders' failed attempts to recapture Jerusalem have been a subject of fascination and intrigue. Countless books have been written, analyzing the reasons behind their inability to achieve their ultimate goal. In this chapter, we have explored various factors that contributed to their failure, including leadership, geography, religious and cultural differences, logistical challenges, internal conflicts, military tactics, diplomacy, disease, external political factors, and underestimation of the local population. From these lessons, we can gain valuable insights into the Crusaders' failed quest for Jerusalem. One of the most significant lessons we can learn from the Crusaders' failure is the importance of effective leadership. The lack of a unified and capable leader hindered their ability to strategize and coordinate their efforts. The absence of a clear chain of command and internal power struggles weakened their forces and ultimately led to their downfall. Geography and terrain played a crucial role in the Crusaders' inability to recapture Jerusalem. The unfamiliarity with the arid climate, rough terrain, and lack of local knowledge put them at a disadvantage. Their lack of adaptability and inability to navigate the challenging landscape made it difficult for them to sustain a prolonged campaign. Religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population in Jerusalem also played a significant role in their failure. The Crusaders' ignorance and disrespect for the customs and beliefs of the local population alienated potential allies and fueled resistance against their presence. This lack of cultural understanding and the failure to establish meaningful alliances made their task even more challenging. Logistical challenges and supply lines were another critical factor in the Crusaders' failure. Their inability to maintain a steady flow of resources and lost in the Holy Land, the Crusaders' failed quest for Jerusalem, we delve into the fascinating and complex reasons behind the Crusaders' inability to recapture Jerusalem. This subchapter aims to highlight the various factors that contributed to their failure, demonstrating the multifaceted nature of this historical event. One crucial aspect that played a significant role in the Crusaders' failure was their inability to understand the local geography and terrain. The Holy Land's unfamiliar and challenging landscapes posed numerous obstacles for the Crusaders, hindering their military operations and making it difficult to sustain their campaign. Furthermore, the influence of religious and cultural differences between the Crusaders and the local population in Jerusalem cannot be underestimated. The clash between these two groups created a deep divide, making it challenging for the Crusaders to establish alliances and gain the necessary support to recapture the city. Internal conflicts and divisions among the Crusader forces were another significant factor that contributed to their failure. Infighting and power struggles weakened their unity and undermined their ability to mount a successful campaign. The military tactics and strategies employed by the Crusaders also played a crucial role. Their lack of adaptability and failure to adjust their strategies to suit the local conditions limited their effectiveness on the battlefield. Additionally, the Crusaders' failure to form strong diplomatic alliances further hindered their quest for Jerusalem. The rise of powerful Muslim states in the region, combined with the Crusaders' inability to gain support from external political factors, proved to be detrimental to their cause. The impact of disease and health challenges cannot be overlooked either. The Crusaders faced numerous health issues, weakening their fighting force and making it difficult to sustain their campaign. Finally, the Crusaders underestimated the resilience and determination of the local population to defend Jerusalem. This underestimation proved to be a significant strategic error, as the locals fiercely resisted the Crusaders' attempts to recapture the city. In conclusion, the failure of the Crusaders to recapture Jerusalem was a result of various interconnected factors. By examining the role of leadership, geography, cultural differences, logistical challenges, internal conflicts, military tactics, diplomacy, health issues, external political factors, and the underestimation of the locals' determination, we gain a comprehensive understanding of this historical event.